Coming up on this Wednesday edition of Daybreak, North Korea's military politburo chief Choe Ryong-hae appears to have replaced Kim Jong-un's executed uncle Jang Song-thaek as the state's second most powerful man. This based on the seating arrangement for the second anniversary of former leader Kim Jong-il's death. South Korea and the US failed to reach an agreement about how to share the cost of stationing American troops here in Korea. The two sides appear far apart on the size of Seoul's contribution. Plus, a bipartisan budget deal that reduces the risk of another US government shutdown clears a key vote in the Senate that virtually guarantees its passage. Daybreak begins now.
Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Daybreak on Wednesday, December 18th. I'm Kim Hyun-ji, filling in for Choi Yu-sun. North Korea marked the second anniversary of former leader Kim Jong-il's death Tuesday, which also signified the start of Kim Jong-un's third year as a nation's leader. With the event coming a matter of days after the execution of Kim Jong-un's uncle Jang Song-thaek, experts looked for clues from the ceremony about the regime's future power structure. Our Han Da-eun reports.
It appears North Korea's military politburo chief Choe Ryong-hae has replaced Kim Jong-un's executed uncle Jang Song-thaek as the state's second most powerful man. As many had expected, the bureaucrat-turned-military official was seated right next to Kim Jong-un during a national ceremony marking the second anniversary of the death of Kim Jong-il, where he pledged allegiance to the North's young leader.
We revolutionary forces will honor no one else but our great leader, Kim Jong-un. We will protect our one and only supreme commander through all the hardships.
Choe's seat was one seat closer to Kim Jong-un than at last year's ceremony, signaling a promotion. Speculation is also rife that Choe, who is known to be a military hardliner, was one of the main figures behind the expulsion and execution of Jang, who was a moderate. Next to Choe were Chief of the General Staff of the Korean People's Army Lee Young-il and Minister of the People's Armed Forces Jang Jong-nam. To Kim Jong-un's right was Kim Yong-nam, the president of the Presidium of the Supreme People's Assembly and the nominal second in command, who got the ceremony started with a keynote speech. Prime Minister Park Bong-ju, who is in charge of North Korea's economic reform plans, was seated next to him. Despite concerns that more Jang Song-thaek followers would be purged, some of his former aides were present at the ceremony. But Kim Kyung-hee, Jang's wife and the daughter of the state founder Kim Il-sung, was absent, presumably for health reasons. Although Kim Jong-un's wife Lee Seol-ju also didn't take part, she did make an appearance with Kim Jong-un at the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun, where the bodies of North Korean founder Kim Il-sung and his son Kim Jong-il lie in state. It was Lee's first public appearance since October. Han Da-eun, Arirang News.
Staying with North Korea, under the rule of its young leader Kim Jong-un, the North has successfully launched a rocket and conducted a third nuclear test. In the last of our three-part series on Kim's 2 years in power, we look at how far North Korea's nuclear program has come and where it's headed. Our Hwang Sung-hee reports.
Peace, national prosperity, and happiness of the citizens all come with strong nuclear power.
Kim Jong-un has made it clear that North Korea will never give up its nuclear program. And during his 2 years in power, the young leader has taken steps toward making the North a nuclear state.
The first one, the explosion power has increased. At the same time, now they enter into the new step that focusing on miniaturizing and how to put this warhead into the long-range missiles.
But the significant steps in its nuclear program has taken Pyongyang further away from its closest ally Beijing, as the North ignored China's warnings and went ahead with a rocket launch last December and a third nuclear test in February. Since then, China has joined in on international sanctions against the North, and has steadily increased the economic pressure on its northern neighbor in order to get it to denuclearize and return to dialogue. Experts say Pyongyang's constant belligerent actions have created a pretext for the expansion of U.S. involvement in the region, which is certainly not in Beijing's interest.
For China, the denuclearization of North Korea is important, but so is the maintenance of peace and stability in the north and the Korea-US-Japan-East Asia-Pacific rebalance policy.
But as much as the North does not want to break its ties with China, a nuclear-free North Korea does not seem an option for now.
There hasn't been a sufficient reduction in the security threats in the region and between the two Koreas for the North to end its nuclear program. So as a result, Pyongyang continues to have difficulty with making the strategic decision to denuclearize.
Beyond that, the communist state constantly proclaims that it was the dying wish of great leader Kim Il-sung and dear leader Kim Jong-il for the North to hold on to its nuclear weapons. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, back here in the south, Seoul's Defense Minister Kim Jong-un has ordered the South Korean military to be on full alert against any possible provocations from North Korea. During a meeting with the nation's military commanders on Tuesday, Kim said there is a high chance of a North Korean provocation during the period between late January to early March next year. In a separate development, Saenuri Party lawmaker Choe Ryong-hae said in a special parliamentary meeting Tuesday that the North is showing signs it could attempt another long-range missile launch and a fourth nuclear test, citing signs of expansion in its nuclear test site and missile launch facility. Korea and the United States have yet again failed to finalize how to share the cost for stationing American troops in Korea. The two sides held another round of negotiations in Seoul on Tuesday, but the two sides couldn't reach a compromise on the renewal of the special measure agreement, which is set to expire at the end of this year. Reports suggest the main sticking point was the size of Korea's contribution. Seoul is thought to have offered about $825 million, but Washington wants an amount closer to $950 million. The two sides are also far apart on how clearly the U.S. has to show it spends Seoul's contribution. Officials from both sides agreed to resume their negotiations early next month. Though the nation's top conglomerates have long graduated from their startup pasts, President Park Geun-hye asked to see more entrepreneurship from Korea's most prominent business tycoons, especially when it comes to investments. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Jin-ju files this report.
Economic revitalization and job creation were two of President Park's key goals for the latter half of this year. What is important now is keeping the domestic economy on the track to recovery. President Park on Tuesday attended a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the new headquarters of the Federation of Korean Industries, where she met with top business leaders and called for entrepreneurship.
여러분이 기업가 정신으로 투자하고 도전하신다면 정부는 적극 뒷받침을 해 드릴 것입니다.
She said that preemptive investments made during hard times were what enabled Korea to overcome various crises in the past and helped it to create new opportunities. President Park said if economic recovery is the short-term goal, enhancing the fundamentals of the Korean economy is the long-term one. She then urged these companies to take the lead in realizing a creative economy, highlighting just how important a shift in the nation's economic paradigm is. President Park also put great emphasis on shared growth between large and small companies. How? She called for a new business ecosystem, one that combines the resources and experiences of large enterprises and the ideas and creativity of SMEs. The president also asked conglomerates to focus on the global market, as there are a variety of sectors in which to cooperate with SMEs.
이 국내 시장만을 볼 것이 아니라 세계가 우리 시장이다. 이렇게 생각을 해야만 성공하고 발전할 수 있는 시대에 살고 있습니다.
President Park suggested conglomerates give away patents they don't use to smaller firms and seek technological cooperation from them. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
General Motors has taken an axe to its unprofitable international operations, announcing plans to withdraw production in Australia and drop its Chevrolet brand in Europe. It's left many wondering how much Korea, which has established itself as one of GM's main production hubs, will be affected by the global restructuring. Our Hwang Ji-hae has the details.
The sustained strength of the Aussie dollar against almost all major trading currencies, the relatively high cost of production, and the relatively small scale of the local domestic market.
Those are the reasons cited by General Motors last week for ending its manufacturing operation in Australia by 2017. The worry is Korea faces the same negative factors in a milder form. For now, Korea accounts for about 1/10 of GM's global auto output and is responsible for developing its small cars, including the Spark. Industry analysts say, however, the recent GM move is a wake-up call for Korea, as the country is not an exception for GM's global restructuring.
Considering Korea's strong local currency, high cost, and relatively small domestic market, GM Korea's labor union and suppliers must spur on their efforts to improve productivity.
Already, GM Korea was hit by the U.S. automaker's decision late last year to scale back on the Korean production of its compact car Cruise in the future. Korea is currently a major production base for Cruise, but the compact model won't be built here when GM introduces its next generation model. On top of that, GM's announcement this month to phase out sales of Chevrolet vehicles in Europe by 2016 was a major blow to the Korean unit. That's because GM Korea produces about 90% of the Chevy automobiles sold in Europe, or as much as 1/5 of its total output. In the short term, Korea will remain as the U.S. auto giant's main production and development center for small cars, but its future will depend on its productivity and price competitiveness. Hwang Ji-hae, Arirang News.
In another news, Korea's advertising industry witnessed a watershed moment in 2012, with the internet trumping terrestrial TV in terms of advertisement spending. Our Park Ji-won reports on the shifting landscape of the nation's media market.
Data compiled by the Korea Broadcast Advertising Corporation and Korea's leading advertising agency, Seoul Worldwide, shows the nation's advertising industry was worth $9.3 billion in 2012. The internet accounted for the largest portion of ad spending at 20%, followed by terrestrial TV at 19.8% and newspapers at 17%. Last year was the first year that spending on internet ads outstripped that of terrestrial TV. Cable TV has also stepped up as a major ad carrier with a market share of 13.5% last year. But back in the year 2000, newspapers had the largest market share with over 36%, followed by terrestrial TV at roughly 35%, and the internet and cable TV with a paltry 2 to 3%. Experts say the growth of the advertising market on the internet and on cable TV reflects the diversification of Korea's media environment. They predict the trend will continue, considering the mobile internet ad industry has grown some 250% in the last year. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiation.
President Park Geun-hye plans, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
The legislature will convene a...
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday.
A 2-year U.S. budget plan has cleared a Senate procedural vote, overcoming the last major hurdle to advance the deal and lowering the threat of a fresh government shutdown. The Democratic-controlled Senate agreed 67-33 to cut off debate on the bipartisan deal that was reached last week. Final passage is all but guaranteed now, and a vote is slated for no later than Wednesday. Meanwhile, ahead of the Federal Reserve's last open market committee meeting of the year, experts and investors expect the Fed to start scaling back its $85 billion a month bond buying program. The announcement is expected to come out on Wednesday, local time. Russia has reached a deal with Ukraine to buy billions of dollars worth of Ukrainian government bonds and to supply cheap natural gas to its cash-strapped neighbor. Speaking after summit talks with Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych in Moscow Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Moscow will support Kiev by purchasing Ukrainian government bonds worth $15 billion. Russia's partly state-controlled Gazprom will also slash the price of natural gas provided to Ukraine by roughly one-third. In Kiev Tuesday, some 50,000 pro-European Union protesters gathered in the city's main square, saying the Russian bailout will harm the country's independence. China dispatched 40 fighter jets to the South China Sea on Tuesday, seemingly in response to a standoff earlier this month between a Chinese and U.S. warship. Our Yulian has the details.
China has dispatched 40 of its Gen 10 fighter jets to the South China Sea, according to a Chinese military paper on Tuesday. The move is widely perceived as an attempt to prevent additional standoffs with the United States in international waters. The United States over the weekend revealed that one of its warships was approached by a Chinese Navy ship last month in the South China Sea. Despite radio warnings, the U.S. says the Chinese vessel did not stop, forcing the U.S. ship to take evasive action just 450 meters from collision. The incident underscores the rising tensions between China and the U.S. following Beijing's newly declared air zone further north in the East China Sea. It's also prompted Washington to defend its right to sail freely in international waters and to raise a formal protest against China through both diplomatic and military channels. China has yet to issue a formal statement on the near collision. China lays claim to most of South China Sea, including ones also claimed by neighboring countries like Vietnam and the Philippines. Yulian, Arirang News.
Angela Merkel has been formally elected to a third term as German chancellor, paving the way for a grand coalition. She was re-elected by an overwhelming 462 votes in the lower house, with 150 votes against and 9 abstentions. Merkel's coalition consists of her conservative Christian Democratic Union Party, the Allied Christian Social Union, and the center-left Social Democrats. On Wednesday, Merkel will address Parliament on EU issues before heading to Paris for talks with French President François Hollande. She will then attend an EU summit in Brussels, at which leaders are under pressure to clinch a deal on the EU's banking union project.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off in the world of football. Now, remember the first time I saw Park Jisung play back in 2000 when he played in Japan for the Kyoto Purple Sanga. And believe it or not, it's almost been 14 years since then. According to his father, we might have only about a year and a half until he retires from the sport. Now, his father, who's been always very vocal about his son's career, has come out in a recent interview stating that he won't be playing more than a year and a half from now. And if that holds true, Park Jisung will retire from the sport in June of 2015. The PSV midfielder, who will be 34 years old in 2015, will be retiring at a young age, as fans wonder what he'll do after his retirement. Moving on with the kind of success that speed skater Lee Sang-hwa has seen in 2013, it's no surprise that she was named the NBN Best Female Athlete of 2013. Now on Tuesday, during an award ceremony celebrating the female athletes here in the nation, the 24-year-old speed skater received the highest honors. Now Lee, who won 7 gold medals and set 4 world records during the 500-meter event this year, is headed to Sochi, hoping to continue her success in 2013 over to 2014. And moving on to some Tuesday night's KBL action, we had one game that took place last night. So let's take a look at Jeonju KCC Aegis take on the Seoul Samsung Thunders. Now, first quarter of the game, Samsung off to a nice start as they take a 17-14 lead. But KCC rallies back in the second quarter despite Lee Dong-jun's 16 points in the first half as they go into the halftime with a slim 34-32 lead. When the third quarter of the game, KCC goes absolutely insane, outscoring Samsung 39-16 in the third, including Park Young-sang, who puts up 15 points in the quarter. Samsung tries to rally back in the fourth quarter of the game, but the deficit is too big as KCC cruises through 91-71. And now finishing things off in the VLeague as GS Caltex dominated Hyundai Hillstate, who, by the way, is really struggling 3-0 over on the women's side. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Uricar take on KEPCO Vicstorms over on the men's side. Of course, going on to the game here, the 5th place KEPCO Vicstorms off to a great start here as they take the first 2 sets, 25-23 and 25-20. Now needing one more set win to upset the second place Uricard, but that doesn't come easy as Uricard comes back with a 25-22 third set win and a 25-22 fourth set win. And here we go in the 5th set of the game. 5 different players scoring in the double digits here for Uricard as they come back 2 sets down to beat KEPCO in the 5th set 15-12, winning in a dramatic fashion 3-2. And with all that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good Wednesday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather forecast. Well, it was quite mild yesterday afternoon and seemed like the streets were a bit crowded with people taking advantage of the weather condition, and I hope you're one of them. And for today, we should see even milder temperatures than yesterday in the afternoon, but morning lows are still starting out in a cold side, so don't forget to dress in layers and wear mufflers before heading out to stay warm. And it looks like we won't be able to bask under the sun today as the clouds will dominate the whole peninsula and the lingering snow from yesterday will continue in the east coast throughout the day. So please take precautions on facility maintenance to avoid any damages if you're in those regions. But temperature-wise, enjoy the mild air while it's here because another brutal cold snap will move in tomorrow. So we'll wake up to morning low of -7 and the cold front will have readings dropping through the negative side even in the daytime, and freezing weather will linger throughout the weekend. With that in mind, here are the readings for today. Morning low in Seoul is starting out at -3, but afternoon highs will peak to 4, which is similar to a bit warmer than yesterday, and Daegu and Gwangju should peak 7 and 8 respectively, while Busan climb into 8 as well. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju should see a light rain today with a high of 9 in the afternoon. Daejeon and Dokdo will reach at 7 and 5, while another freezing morning is in store for Mount Kumgang at -10. Now that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. That's all for me at this hour. Enjoy your morning commute and hope you have a wonderful Wednesday.
Well, those are the stories we are following at this hour. Stay tuned to Arirang for more of the day's latest throughout the day. Thank you for watching.